as an option.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we talked about one time about kind of the effortlessness, but intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a kind of the firmness and definitiveness of I'm with my intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to be in a certain, like a drum needs to have the certain tautness to be a drum,
Mm-hmm.
like something like a tautness, but it's not tense, that that's available, open, accessible to the intuition. And then, yeah, that's good enough. So if good enough helps as a guiding principle, because there's a million ways with what we just recorded now that it could be good.
Mm-hmm.
And following that inner guidance and enoughness, good enoughness. And good enoughness, I think it's like there's a goodness, there's a yumminess to it. Like, so what would be yummy could be another guiding line.
Mm-hmm.
What would be yummy?
It's it's funny because I'm thinking like how much doing I practice
Mm-hmm.
in the space of like listening. You talk about listening, thinking. What you changed thinking to listening. So in the time that would be lovely to be listening, I think I offer a lot of doing, especially in some of this making,
Yeah.
And so what's the most ironic piece of all of it is that I make audio, which is for listening.
It's beautiful also.
It feels definitely like why, part of the nod from the universe around
Yeah.
doing it in the first place,
Yeah.
And so anyway, all of that, I think the container and the trust and the effortlessness and the relationship is such a wonderful, for me, it's feeling like such a wonderful way to do this whole thing, but this
Mm-hmm.
whole thing via this whole thing, if
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense.
Yep. Yep.
Feels really like totally um yeah. You said thank you for offering to do that. It feels like part of what the thank you to you is back, is
Mm-hmm.
like it feels great. It's really
Yeah.
lovely, helpful to me
Yeah.
in the work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing. I mean, that's like how generosity and mutuality and like it's good and it's good and it's good and it's good.
Totally.
Even in the challenging parts, that
Totally.
like hearing how you're willing, but in a sense also of like wishing, willing and including the wishing of willing,
Mm-hmm.
willing to kind of take on that challenge of there's tons of material and you love some of that material and you love people that could be a good fit for them,
Mm-hmm.
and to be the challenge of not being overwhelmed by that and then trusting to let anything that you do will be a bonus, will be good, will be a generosity. I don't know, that the means are the same, are part of the way that you're going about it, is the same vibe or the same mode as what you're wanting to people to receive from what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, like we're, does that make sense?
The soil that the thing is growing in. Yes.
Yeah.
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 Um,
So just don't be so hard on yourself though.
so what does that mean? Like, okay, it goes with the question I was going to ask. Like you said, the challenge is to not be overwhelmed by the material, which first of all, I named the playlist that I curated after our first conversation Sacred
Mm-hmm.
Material because it's a thing that my girlfriend says a lot when she's talking about some of the trauma and stuff that made us
Mm.
us, that you wouldn't
Mm.
necessarily call beauty or sacred or whatever.
Mm.
But, in this way of thinking, it's the thing that is you. It's why, it's the how of so much. And in that way, it's sacred material. And so it's kind of got this funny, like, residue, or not even necessarily, but it's like, it's got this connotation, I think, this trauma and all that. But I call it the texture. She calls
Mm-hmm.
it the sacred material.
Hmm.
And I feel like I've lost my train of thought, but you're nodding and maybe it's something's resonating for you.
Yeah.
Sacred material. Yeah, it
I
just
I said don't be so hard on yourself, and you said, what does that mean?
yeah. Because so the hard on myself feels like a big part of the sacred material. Like it feels like a
Mhm.
big piece of what I'm wading through, or
Mhm.
how I'm. It feels like the staying engaged. I definitely have thought about the ways that I've learned to be hard on other people as sort of like this very slow movement of being very hard on myself, coming sort of out
Mhm.
and away. I don't know.
Mhm. Right.
Hard on other people, like I came up with this phrase, you have to be this tall to ride this ride, about being my friend. You know what I mean? Because I don't seem to be for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so there's a piece of it that's like both I want you to inspire me, you know what I mean? Like I want
Mhm.
to have that with people that I'm spending close time with, but because I
Yeah.
want to learn from folks, but also like I don't want to be like I don't want to be so hard on myself taking in so
Yeah.
much judgment from other people. I don't know. I think it's a both and. I think it's finding the people, surrounding myself with people who we have these kinds of conversations where this kind of connection is like the preferred way. We
Yeah.
talked about negativity and how motivating or like the momentum of love, you know what I mean, is like it's just like it's a harder start or something, but it's like
Mhm.
it's worth it, you know?
Mhm.
So anyway, um,
It's
I'll,
not always a harder start, though.
I believe that. The four agreements would say it's an agreement that it's a harder start.
Right.
Right.
And just like it's that kind of coming back around to permission, like permission that it can be hard, but it could be also easy. It could be like even faster sometimes.
Mm.
That like you too? Yeah. Whew.
But also, where is harder more thorough? You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like more
Totally.
complete, like more sturdy, harder,
Totally.
more difficult to create at first,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. I mean the demandingness of love.
Hmm.
That's something we come up in a lot with deep rest meditation is people think, oh, I get to just turn off kind of. And it's like, no, it's basically you're turning on, you're coming back alive. And to let go of punishment as a motivating force, to let go of fear as a motivating force is already hard. But then to accept love as your movement,
Hmm.
you know, it brings you to places you would not have gone. Like me doing public speaking, for example, you know.
Oh, I laughed for so many reasons, but yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. But the demandingness, the rigor of juiciness, of the discipline of juiciness, the like Audre Lorde talks about that so well, and Bell Hooks talks about that so
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
as a way of living, it's it's easy in a way because it's in harmony with what we are, what's real.
Right.
But in another way, it's well, the possibility that we could put as much energy or more into something out of love as we do out of fear.
Mm.
If we could run as fast as we do when we're afraid, just for fun, like permission for that.
Totally. Mm. I feel like we're
Yeah, we you said okay, that's enough. Let's stop. And we went. I said I can go another 15 minutes. We've gone 10 or 12. So yeah, let's see what comes from this, and then
cool.
we'll go from there.
I'm so grateful. Thank you for
I'm
this
so
time.
grateful too, and yeah.
Tender fire.